Let us pray. O God, we come together in your name in this moment to debate our nation's affairs and pass laws for the betterment and welfare of all Fijians. Guide us in our deliberations and grant us the wisdom to do what is just and fair. We ask you to bless our beloved nation and grant every Fijian peace, prosperity, and equal opportunity. Help us serve our citizens with honesty, integrity, and without fear or favor, to keep the trust of those who have sent us here. We seek your divine guidance to continue to build a better nation for all Fijians. In your name, Amen. Honorable members, you may be seated.
Confirmation of minutes.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order on reference to Standing Order 34(1)C. We see an urgent need for clarification from you, Madam Speaker, on the ruling that you made on the 21st of November 2014. Following the point of order that we raised pursuant to Orders 99, Chapter 2, you made the ruling that you will not allow consequential bills to proceed beyond the first reading until the appropriation bill has passed all stages. During the conclusion of the budget address, the Minister for Finance then moved these bills be passed by Parliament through the expedited provision of Standing Orders 51. The Leader of Government Business in the House then seconded the motion, as well as reaffirmed that the particular application of the Minister for Finance made regarding Standing Order 51 for expediting the reading of the bills through the process of Parliament is allowable under Standing Orders. Madam Chair, immediately after which, you, Madam Speaker, invoked Standing Orders 91, Alpha and Bravo. The opposition had abstained because the consequential bills were to be tabled only and not proceed to the first reading. Madam Speaker, after tabling of the consequential bills, we believe it would have been correct to adjourn the House. However, you allowed the Minister for Finance to move the motion to allow the bills to be read for the first time. With respect, we see breach of parliamentary tradition and this ruling. Madam Speaker, Section 76(16) of the Constitution states, the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, or any other person presiding at any time, in the performance of the functions of the Speaker, has the authority to maintain order in the quorum in Parliament in accordance with Standing Orders and parliamentary tradition. Madam Speaker, we humbly seek a clarification from you, Madam Speaker, in regards to your ruling to bring in conformity the proceedings of 21st November 2014 in accordance with the Standing Orders and parliamentary tradition as set out in the 2013 Constitution. In addition, the Honourable Minister had not complied with Standing Orders 99(2), which is to deliver the appropriation bill with the estimate. This came 4 days later. Furthermore, the Honourable Minister's budget address come on Thursday, the 27th of November, and this has not given us the clear chance to reply. Therefore, we suggest that procedures undertaken on the 31st November 2014 to be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Partner. I just also raised your hand. Thank you. I beg the indulgence of the House to give us 5 minutes just to discuss this further. you for your point of order. You have raised a number of issues. As members can see from the order paper, the government proposes to withdraw bills 2 to 13 of 2014. Also, as I will announce in my communications from the chair shortly, the Business Committee has agreed that the appropriation bill will not be called for debate today. Therefore, as this point of order does not now relate directly to today's business, I will take this matter under consideration and make my ruling on this point of order tomorrow. Madam Secretary General.
Confirmation of the minutes.
Leader of the Government in Parliament.
Madam Speaker, I move that the minutes of the sitting of Parliament held on Friday, 21st November, as previously circulated, will be taken as read.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Madam Speaker, I beg to second the motion.
Thank you. Parliament will now vote on the motion. Open the vote for 30 seconds. Close the vote. Secretary General.
The result, the vote was as follows: 47 ayes, 3 not voted.
There being 47 ayes and 3 noes, the motion is agreed. Secretary General.
Communication from the chair.
At the outset, welcome to this sitting this week. I apologize for the lateness at the start of this sitting this morning. I draw the attention to the members of this Honourable House regarding item number 8 in today's order paper. This motion, Honourable Member, was tabled for debate this morning. However, following approaches by members of the opposition on urgent business committee, an urgent business committee meeting was held this morning regarding it. The motion was brought by government, the Attorney General, regarding the need to uphold the integrity and sanctity of the office of the Speaker of this Honourable Parliament. The facts pertaining to the motion was that Honourable Biman Prasad made statement to the media questioning the impartiality of the Speaker, my impartiality. Members of the House, let me remind you that confidence in the impartiality of the Speaker is an indispensable condition of procedures, and many conventions exist which have as their object not only to ensure the impartiality of the Speaker, but to also ensure that the impartiality is generally recognized. The Speaker is in a special position, being the embodiment of Parliament. Reflections upon the Speaker's character or conduct directly attack the very institution of Parliament itself. This unfortunate incident of comments made to the media about the Speaker cannot be condoned. This was the purpose of the motion. There is a number of examples throughout the Congo as to how members have been reprimanded for making such comments. I wish to get the government, the Attorney General, in withdrawing this motion, since Honourable Prasad has apologized to me for making these comments to the media about the office of the Speaker in the Business Committee meeting this morning. I have accepted his apology and thank him for it. I wish to take this opportunity to again remind all members of this House that we must at all times protect this Parliament and its integrity, which means protecting the sanctity of the office of the Speaker. Following Honourable Prasad's apology, the Attorney General has therefore withdrawn his motion, listed as number 8 on the order of paper. I also advise members that the Business Committee agreed that the Parliament will adjourn today after the conclusion of item number 9. Items 10 and 11 will be on the order paper for tomorrow. I remind members that today is World AIDS Day. You can see behind me the red ribbon signifying the day. I am pleased that our Parliament is taking its part in acknowledging this very important issue. The theme of World AIDS Day this year is Close the Gap. Membership of committees. In accordance with Standing Order 115, Clause 4, I advise the Parliament that the following members have been appointed to the Business Committee. The Speaker, the Honourable Bainimarama, Prime Minister, the Honourable Raul Talo, the Honourable Robert Enriquetti, the Honourable Corella Masao, the Honourable Prasad, the Honourable Syed Kayu, the Honourable Tikonal, the Honourable Tipon Dondua. The following members have been appointed to the Standing Orders Committee. The Speaker, the Honourable Corella Masao, the Honourable Prem Singh, the Honourable Tikonal, the Honourable Tipon Dondua, and the following members have been appointed to the Public Accounts Committee. The Honourable Corella Masao, the Honourable Patel, the Honourable Prasad, the Honourable Azeri Rabrono, and the Chairman, the Honourable Parliamentary Singh, and the Chairman, the Honourable Vimal Prasad. Sorry, I mentioned Honourable Prasad earlier. Thank you.
The section of papers and certain documents. In accordance with Standing Order 38, the Ministry of Economic Affairs 2013 annual report is laid on the table.
I will refer the report to the relevant Standing Committee under Standing Order 38 once the committees are established. Secretary General.
Presentation of committee reports.
The Leader of the Government in Parliament.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to table the Standing Orders Committee report. Standing Orders is amended 2014.
Please have a report. Leader of the Government in Parliament to move the motion suspending the Standing Order.
Madam Speaker, I move that within the provisions of the Standing Orders to set aside those elements to allow the implementation or to allow the use of the Standing Orders as tabled today in the next sitting of Parliament.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Madam Speaker, I beg to second the motion.
Thank you. The Leader of the Government in Parliament.
Madam Speaker, I rise to comment on Business Committee came up on this bipartition agreement on to waive the standing orders so as to allow the use of the standing orders during the next year, so that it does not have to go through the mandatory requirements of the standing orders as it is noted in the standing orders. So I would like to note to the House that this was something that we had reached on consensus. And I would like to thank all the members of the Business Committee for allowing us to table to Parliament this amended standing orders as the requirement of Parliament demands.
Thank you. I invite debate on this motion. The motion that the standing order be suspended so as to allow the Speaker to put the question to allow the Parliament to adopt the amendments recommended by the Standing Orders Committee.
This allows flexibility with what has been stated by the President. It's just a suggestion for the decision to debate, and given that the amendments are not yet in front of us, as should be the case, it becomes a paper of the case. I see we have started from that from there. How we are going to go about the debate, given that the flow of the amendments.
I thank the Honourable for his comments. But today's tabling of the amended standing orders is a partition. It's tabled today at the concurrence of all members of the Business Committee. And I note that also the fact that it has been discussed by the Standing Orders Committee. We have given time for both sides to have a look at it and make their comments. And I believe that there were no additional comments. So at the last sitting of the Business Committee, we mutually agreed that we will adopt it. And we also agreed that I will stand today and Standing Order 6 and Standing Order 130 will be put before the House to vote that we do not have to go through the mandatory period to have the standing orders adopted, but to wait that so that we can use it tomorrow to the debate. But I think that the Speaker, the members on the other side have been given their time to have a look at the amended standing orders, and there will be some policy because we had a pretty mutually agreed. The orders that I have taken today before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable.
We are raising on this side of the House as well. Now we are being invited to debate on something that is in front of us. I mean, supposed to be in front of us. That's the confusion now.
Thank you very much. My ruling on this is that this amendment of standing orders have been very comprehensively discussed and agreed to in the last sitting, and that it was agreed that this would be brought to the table today or to be voted on and to be accepted. Therefore, I will now, the motion had been tabled and seconded, and I will now put the motion to a vote. We have 30 seconds. Have all members voted? Secretary General.
Result of the vote as follows: 47 ayes and 3 non-voted.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Thank you. There have been 47 ayes and 3 noes. The question is agreed to. Thank you. Now that the Parliament has voted yes, we will now vote on the question that the amendments recommended by the Standing Orders Committee in their report, Amendment of Standing Orders 2014, be adopted by Parliament. Members may speak on this motion if they wish. Thank you. Parliament will now vote on the motion to agree to the amended standing orders. Open the vote for 30 seconds. Close the vote. Secretary General.
The result of the vote as follows: 47 ayes and 3 non-voted.
Thank you. There have been 47 ayes and 3 not voted. The question is agreed to. The Parliament will now use the amended standing orders. Secretary General.
Item number 7, notice of motion in the name of the Minister of Finance.
The Honourable Minister of Finance to move this motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise now to move that under Standing Orders 90, Bills number 2 to 13 of 2014 presented last week be withdrawn. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Madam Speaker, let me second the motion.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Standing Order 90 does allow that if a member is in charge of a bill, may withdraw the bill at any time before the bill has been read the third time. As you may recall that following the slight confusion last week on Friday, the bill was presented, those bills 2 to 13, and given that and the fact that we wanted the bills to move through the Parliament under Standing Order 51, that we withdraw these bills and were then to be presented at a later stage. This does not in any way prejudice the proceedings of Parliament in any way, nor does it in any way hinder the appropriation bill being read for the first time. Of course, we'll have it read for the second time tomorrow, now that the amendment has been made to the Standing Order bill. Will be all of it.
Thank you. I invite debate on this bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is indeed great thing for Parliament, to revisit this issue again before we proceed to finality. We can understand that we are learning in the process, and in doing so, we can correct things as we go on. I believe, as it has been table the motion stated this morning, withdraw those consequential bills, confirmed that what was done was wrong. It was not according to the standing order. And it's important, therefore, for the other side, especially the Attorney General, Madam Speaker, this is, in my view, Madam Speaker, is a gross negligence
legal negligence of the highest order. Because the whole parliament should be guided by the government, especially the Attorney General. And we have been taken, when they were tabled, that it was correct. Although we had pointed out, Madam Speaker, that it was wrong. It must not be taken in this House, Madam Speaker, because they have the numbers, and we don't have it. For them to have this perception that they don't need to listen to this side. Because there are a lot of good advice coming from this side for them to understand the proper way to go about this. Madam Speaker, that's my point. That's my point, Madam Speaker. We acknowledge that we are learning, but at the same time, we are looking at the government to guide this House in the proper way. But it was not. It was not. And we can accept at this point that it is taken to follow what we actually submitted in the last sitting when they were taken. And that's our position. We thank Madam Speaker that we are now going back to what we advised before. And we can accept that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We reserve the right of reply for finance, but do you have any other comments? Thank you.
May I? Madam Speaker, maybe the honourable member should read Order 51 in its entirety. It does allow for a motion for bill to proceed without delay. And just for the benefit of the House, maybe I want to read it. And this also allows it to be done at any time. And in no way, shape or form, Madam Speaker, does this show that the Attorney General was negligent at any time. It is a procedure that is allowed within the standing orders, and it can be done at any time. Very simply put, maybe the honourable member should read Order 51.
Thank you. Yes,
if it was done under Section 51, then they should have laid down a proper program to follow. But they didn't do that. But instead they were following 84, of which it was read over here, Madam Speaker, that those bills will be referred to official date. That is the normal tabling of normal bills. And I must advise, Madam Speaker, this House, that is not correct. If they follow 51, a proper program should have laid before this House because it needs to be expedited. But they didn't do that. And it was following 84, which is the normal bills. That's my point. And the other side should take advice from this side.
And I'll read it in its entirety. A motion, Order 51 reads, and sub-rule 1. A motion requesting that Parliament consider a bill without delay may be moved without notice. Without notice. The motion must set out how and when Parliament will deal with each stage of the bill's passage through Parliament, including whether the bill will pass through one or more stages at a single sitting, and if so, which stages. B, which if at any time limits will apply to any debate on the bill during its passage, and whether the bill be referred to a standing committee or other committee of Parliament. And the operative paragraph, Madam Speaker, is that the motion to proceed without delay in relation to a bill may be moved at any stage of the progression of the bill through Parliament. So two things must be remembered. It can be done without notice, and it can be done at any stage of the bill.
Thank you. I invite comments.
Madam, I wish to make a bit of contribution. First, before moving on, Order 51, to my learned friend from the other side, that does not happen in this case, because the Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, has already made a ruling. She made a ruling that those consequential bills will only go as far as the first reading. So, Standing Order 51 does not come into play. But that's not their part to go ahead and move the motion after, Madam Speaker, you already made your ruling. They made a mistake here. And that is the reason why they are withdrawing this bill.
Sure.
But that's not the only mistake that they have made. You have made many, many mistakes in presenting these bills. The first mistake was when you made this submission, table the appropriation bill the 21st on Friday. The first mistake you made was in relation to Standing Order 99.2, which says you must table the appropriation bill together with the estimates. Where were the estimates? There were no estimates here. The estimates were not given. The estimates were given to us 4 days later. 4 days later on Tuesday. That is a mistake. So how can we trust the government to be honest with our money if it's not honest enough in what it is doing? It's very, very vital and important. So the point after that, Madam Speaker said, it gives a very bad impression to the public of what they are doing. I know the Honourable Minister looks bad here, but he must kick the butts of his subordinates, because they are not making him look good here by presenting a thing under mistake, late, and unequal. It was published. I realize it's not published with the government printing. Why? I don't know. So for that reason, I do not support this motion.
Thank you. Any more comments? I will now give the floor to the Honourable Minister of Finance for his right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's rather entertaining with the comments from the other side of the House. Madam Speaker, it is a very simple motion. The motion is to withdraw the bills that are presented. The member presenting the bill has the ability to do so. It has not gone beyond the first reading. In fact, I also refer the members to the Hansard report that we have with you today. If you look at page 223, and if you look at the bills where they are presented under 51. Now, by having the ruling on the fast tracking of those bills, by saying it won't go beyond first reading, it contradicts 51. So can I finish? It contradicts 51. And 51, there is no latitude to have a shortening of what is the provision within 51 itself. Read 51. It does not allow you to do that. So therefore, Madam Speaker, in the interest of efficiency, in the interest of removing those contradictions, we have to withdraw those and we have the right to introduce them, as Honourable Koy has pointed out. We have the ability to reintroduce those bills under 51, which we will do. And Madam Speaker, also, somebody commented are full of contradictions. I will not want to demonstrate that with much bigger issues before us. So under Standing Order 90, to withdraw the bills, and we have the motion on the floor. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much for that very lively debate. The Parliament will now vote on the motion to withdraw those bills. I remind members that the amended standing orders are now in operation. I will repeat. I remind members that the amended standing orders are now in operation. I will therefore ask if any member opposes this motion. Any member who wants to vote against the motion to withdraw those bills should immediately say they oppose the motion. Since no one is opposing the motion, since no one is opposing the motion, the vote is carried.
Another motion is carried. I just have to clarify one point. I completely forgot. The Honourable Waikua had raised and said the estimates not presented. there were two books that were presented on Friday. And if you read those two books of title, one of them says estimates. If you look at this book, this book has the budget estimate. This year, we've given you 3 documents as opposed to 2 documents. This one here has narration telling you exactly what is the purpose of that particular department. And read 1992. If you read the detail estimate, that gives you the specific breakdown of each set, each program, and each it has the detailed estimate. That is what you're after. That is exactly what you're after. If you read 1992, and 1992 says, the bill to be known as appropriation bill must be accompanied by a document to be known as estimates, being the detail of the appropriation amounts. Appropriation amounts contained in the bill. The estimates must be circulated to all members immediately after the bill is introduced. What we are saying, Madam Speaker, is this: in this particular instance, we have in fact given them the detailed estimates. On the day, this is not detailed. What you receive, was detailed. This is the summary of the estimates.
It's the other way around. It's the other way around.
And in fact, this is a summary, Madam Speaker. If you read, for example, Madam Speaker, for example, Ministry of Fisheries and Forests, page 236. Head 32, Program 2, Activity 3. Then you have the various 6. We have the various 6. You do not have the details of these 6 on the opposite side. In fact, the details of these 6 were presented in the booklet that is called the Detailed Estimates, which were presented to the members of the other house, including the staff. That is what was presented on Friday. So nobody in this honorable house can say that they weren't given the details of expenditure which were here. Containing this book, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I think the Minister of Finance is really confused. The estimates, which according to the Constitution and the standing orders, says very clearly, and in the estimates, it says that this is the appropriation bill, a budget of $3.3 billion, the expenditure, the deficit, and then you have the estimate. That document, Madam Speaker, was never presented to us after the delivery of the budget address. Yeah. And in addition, no, I got the detailed budget estimate. I was looking for those figures, Madam Speaker, and I got that on Saturday afternoon the following day. Let me also say this. It's almost a tradition that the budget speech by the Honourable Minister of Finance is also immediately available to the members of Parliament. The Honourable Minister's speech came to us 6 days after the delivery of the budget. Now that means that we didn't have access to those documents. Not only some members did not get the estimates until Monday, Madam Speaker, but the budget speech was not available until 6 days after the delivery of the speech, Honourable Minister. And I think it is something that we were very, very concerned. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Since we have had a few more comments, I will now take the last the opportunity to the Honourable Minister for Finance for his pledge of reply before we wrap up.
Madam Speaker, as usual, the other side is going to make a storm in the teacup. So, Madam Speaker, what we did, I could let this matter rest because, as you know, the motion had already been agreed to, but I stood up to clarify. And the point is, they had all the information before them. It does not in any way prejudice the ability to comment on the estimates. It does not in any way prejudice the ability to comment on the appropriation bill. It's very simple as that. Again, this is why I'm saying there's another storm in the teacup, because unfortunately, they do not have anything necessary to hold on to. So let's let this go.
Thank you very much. We will now go on to the next item on the agenda, and that is questions. I will now call on the Honourable to ask the Minister for Public Enterprises on question 1.
Madam Speaker, would the Minister please inform the House what government assets will be sold off in 2015?
Thank you. Minister for Public Enterprises.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Bulitavu for asking these questions. I was somewhat, although initially perplexed by this question, because it seemed to indicate somehow or the other that government has never sold assets before. Government, for his information, has been selling assets since independence. You have government assets that are sold when government assets are boarded. We sell motor vehicles, we sell office equipment, we sell furniture. So it would be good if we could get some specific questions. Nonetheless, I assume that he's talking about the asset sales that has been referred to in the note. Now, the premise of the question also is, I think, somewhat misplaced, because when we talk about selling of government assets, they're not selling of physical assets per se. As we have noted previously, that we are exploring avenues, and we are in fact talking to a number of our multilateral partners, including Asian Development Bank, in terms of divesting some of the shares that are held in government-owned entities. Worldwide, Madam Chair, this is the trend. Indeed, recently, the sale of the subsidiary company of Fiji Ports Corporation Limited, which is Ports Terminal Limited, to Atkins Spence, a partial divestment of those shares, has shown that the turnaround time of ships coming to Fiji is greatly improved. And indeed, many ships that used to come to Fiji previously, because of the inefficiencies at the port, used to charge an additional levy per container, because the port's management was very, very inefficient. It is obviously a legacy issue which we have inherited from the previous governments. So now, with the divestment of those shares, there are some figures here where the turnaround times have improved. Vessel turnaround times have improved by at least 33%. So obviously, divestment of shares does provide great efficiencies. The government is not going to sell shares, or sell off assets, or sell off real estate simply on a whim. We are looking at the best possible partners with the view to ensuring that we get greater efficiency, that government does not dabble into commercial areas that do not require dabbling into. And so the government entities that have been identified is Airports Fiji Limited. Negotiations have already in fact been underway for a period of time. We are looking at Fiji Ports Corporation Limited. And again, with all these key critical strategic corporations owned by government, we are not looking at a wholesale sale of these entities. We are looking at partial divestment of shares. So similarly with the Fiji Electricity Authority, similarly we are looking, for example, at the moment we are in talks with the Fiji National Provident Fund regarding our overseas embassies. We have, for example, Madam Speaker, overseas embassies, and our previous leaders had the foresight to, for example, purchase properties in very, now it has become very special areas in London, downtown London, so admissions are very, very expensive real estate. We are at the moment in negotiation with the Fiji National Provident Fund, because government is in the business of running government. Government should not be in the business of painting walls and fixing up doors. So when you have entities that have an expertise in that, they're able to manage that. It increases their overseas portfolio, making sure that there's a better return for the members of FNPF, giving them an investment portfolio overseas, and at the same time, government is able to access assets that is well maintained and well managed. So to answer your question specifically for the Honourable Member, we're looking at AFL at the moment. We are also looking at the Fiji City Authority, and then again, in conjunction with the partial divestment of the shares, we are looking at separating the regulatory arm from the commercial arm of these entities. So as you know, Madam Speaker, that FEA also has a regulatory role. Because most countries have now moved on to having an independent regulatory arm of an institution that provides a very basic amenity, like electricity. Similarly, water. So we at the same time simultaneously working on setting up a regulatory body that will have an oversight over these entities. And it is always with the view that we get a better return for the Fijian people, and of course, in order to be able to streamline our own processes. Madam Speaker, it is also very critical to understand that many previous governments, and if you see in the estimates, which was presented to everybody on time, if you see in the estimates, if you see the subsidy that previously was, for example, given to South Pacific Fertilizers, and mind you, Madam Speaker, South Pacific Fertilizers is not owned by the Fijian government. It's owned by two other separate legal entities. But previous governments have been plowing money into these entities, and these taxpayers' monies have gone. Yes, it did provide a particular methodology to subsidize fertilizers, but now we are recording this as debt. We are recording this as debt owed to government. Because if it is recorded as a debt owed to government, then that debt can be turned into equity if divestment of those entities take place. Let me give you a case example, Madam Speaker. Fiji Sugar Corporation was owned, or is owned still, by the Fijian government. It's owned by Fijian holdings, shareholders, Fiji National Provident Fund, YB Reddy, and some other individual owners. In all these years, none of these other entities, apart from the Fijian government, has plowed money into the sea. Has the plowing of that money... Oh, sorry.
Very simple question. What government asset would be sold for? Because we don't know the long explanation as to why. And the government's plan is to the reason for this. We have other supplementary questions. It's my time. Underlying supplementary questions to be asked on the principal question. If you can now allow it.
Madam Speaker, it's not buying time. I do not know. There is a time to buy here. The point is, Madam Speaker, is that I'm trying to explain to the honourable member, because we are very simplistic. The notion, the question actually, I told you that they have a very simplistic notion about sales. So just finishing up, when I'll get back exactly to what the government says, I don't have an already. The point is, Madam Speaker, is that government needs to be cognizant of the fact that we need to ensure that taxpayers' money is spent wisely, and if government is going to give far money into any entity, whether partially or fully owned by government, it needs to be able to reflect this. So we're looking at AFL, we're looking at FEA, we're looking at Fiji Ports Corporation Limited, and I've also highlighted the fact that we're looking at some of the embassies, and indeed we're very close to putting a final price on them. We have, in fact, for example, Madam Speaker, with AFL, been negotiating for a long period of time. We want to get the maximum optimum value out of it. And we're also looking at the government retreat. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
It's a supplementary question, Madam Speaker.
Question.
The Honourable Minister gave a very long explanation as to why the government is planning to sell these assets. Just a supplementary question. can the Minister inform the House when can the investment receipts as part of the normal revenue be realized in 2015, which is in the estimates? When can the investment receipts as part of normal revenue be realized in 2015? When?
I really don't understand the question, and is it related to the sale of government assets?
Yes, related. It's Madam Speaker. It's in regards to 510 million, the proposed sale of public assets. It's part of revenue. It's already in the budget. It's proposed revenue. And what we are trying to get from the Minister responsible here, when can this be realized as part of normal revenue in 2015?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
I assume that the Honourable Member, just for clarification, so I can answer that question correctly, when will the sales be completed? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, when can the sale be completed? Because it's already been incorporated as normal revenue in 2015.
This question, because in fact, if you look at the operating expenditure of government, and you look at the revenue that government gets apart from the asset sales, we can meet all operating expenditure through our normal revenue generation, whether through tax collections, etc. Of course, I cannot give you a specific answer as to when they will be completed, Madam Speaker, the sales, but they will definitely be completed in 2015.
Thank you, Secretary.
Madam Speaker, you do not sell government assets as a matter of course. You only do so in exceptional circumstances. The concern always is control, because obviously you don't want to sell a Chinese company taking control of it. So
what's the question?
Hang on, my question, I'm coming to that. My question. You may go to first, what is the reason for the sale of these assets? Number two, we will give first options to local companies. Can you speak to those options quickly? Don't go.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, perhaps it's a lack of understanding on the other side of the House. I gave the reason in the beginning as to why asset sales are done. There is a greater efficiency. The fact that I highlighted the issue about PTL, government has not sold off PTL in its entirety. There is 18 Spence, which is a World Fortune 200 company outside of USA that is now managing PTL, which means greater efficiency in ship turnaround, which means no levies for our containers, which means greater reduction in consumer pricing. So these are the reasons why sometimes asset sales will take place. And these asset sales take place through an open tender process. So, for example, in AFL, it was advertised. We had about 6 entities that actually put in expressions of interest for this. And all of them were foreign companies. There were no local entities that put in a submission for that. But again, I raise the point. It does not mean government will lose control. You see, there is a misconception on the other side of the house that because you divest shares, government will lose control. You can sell 49%, you can sell 40%, you can sell 35%, you can sell 10%. So divestment does not mean loss of control. Perhaps we can have a lesson in commercial law at some stage.
Thank you very much. We have had enough time given to last supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With explanations on the asset sales, you see that in 2014 there was also similar figure stated in the 2014 budget, and likewise for similar assets. Can the Minister inform the House when these assets were not divested or sold off, what action did government do or undertake to accommodate a shortfall in its revenue for 2014?
Thank you.
If I can make a point of order, the supplementary question is supposed to be relating to the substantive question. The substantive question is, would the Minister please inform the House what government assets will be sold off in 2015? If the Honourable Member Androndro wants to raise the issue regarding that, he can raise it as a separate question, but not as a supplementary question, and please give me notice for it.
Understand the rules.
Thank you. oral question number 2 from the Honorable Director.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to ask a question appearing on the order paper in my name. Can the Minister confirm and inform the House if the landowning areas can withdraw their land allotment from the land bank if they wish to use their land for economic activities and for their own use and such? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister for Lands.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for the question. Yes, land that has been deposited into the land bank can be withdrawn. That's allowed under Regulation 6 of the Land Use Regulations. It requires the trustees of the land owning unit to make the request formally in writing. It also requires that at least 5 years has passed since the depositing of the land in the land bank. That, Madam Speaker, is basically the timeline that is given to the land bank to get investors for land that is given, deposited in the land bank. The third condition is that the land is currently not leased to anybody. And the fourth one is that the land is not likely to be leased in the 1 year immediately after the request for cessation of designation is made. Thank you.
Madam Speaker,
Honorable.
supplementary question. In my area, there is land under land bank that is lying idle. Can the Minister explain to us what the status of the land is and if the landowners are getting any benefits while the land is lying idle? And what is going to be doing about idle land under the land bank?
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
A point of order. I think the question that is a supplementary question is to be related directly to the question that was asked before. This would appear to me to be a totally new question.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister for Land. If the supplementary question is related to the land bank, to the land under the land bank, then
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Perhaps I should explain a bit about land that is deposited into the land bank. Most of this land that is deposited into the land bank, they need to be surveyed, first of all. Most of them are deposited without that being done. They need to be developed, and that is a function that government is taking as well. So in short, the answer is there's about 79 parcels of land that have been deposited into the land bank. Out of the 79 parcels of land, about 26 of them are currently leased. The rest need an input by government to be surveyed, to be developed, before it can become attractive to government. To that end, government has provided a budget for 2015 in the sum of $2.5 million to assist in doing this.
thank you. Supplementary question.
Madam Speaker, supplementary question number 2 to the Lady Minister again. If the sublease lessee wishes to cancel his lease, can the land have the first right of refusal to get their land back?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, that relates again to the first question. The withdrawal of land from the land bank. I've already specified the conditions for the withdrawal.
Thank you. Thank you. There being no other question, we will move on to question number 3 from the Honorable Director.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, after the closure of the Universal Periodic Review in Geneva, the working group said and made some recommendations. And recommendations number 101.10, which is the subject of this question, says, suggested by Estonia, that Fiji establish a constitutional commission to conduct a comprehensive review of the 2013 Constitution and carry out national consultations to ensure that the Constitution is reflective of the will of the people. Also, recommendation number 101.11, which was suggested by Namibia, recommends that Fiji consider establishing a constitutional commission to conduct a comprehensive review of the Constitution, thereby ensuring that it is reflective of the will and aspiration of the citizens of Fiji, seeing that this might help to bring about a stable political structure. As well as recommendation number 101.31, which was suggested by Canada to become part of the recommendation, recommended that Fiji amend the legislative and constitutional framework to maintain the separation of powers and cease any executive interference with the independence of the judiciary and lawyers, and ensure that the process governing the qualification and discipline of lawyers and judges are free from political interference. The question is, can the Minister explain what follow-up actions have been taken by the government regarding these recommendations, that is, recommendations number 101.10, 101.11, and 101.31.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Lawyer Kula for this question, because there obviously seems to be a lot of misinformation about the actual processes regarding the periodic review. Madam Speaker, if you could just indulge me for a few minutes, it needs to be explained. The UPR actually is done every 4 years, and it's done by all the member countries, about 193 UN member states are there. And then the review is taken place by the working group. Now the recommendations that Honourable Nawai has referred to are individual recommendations by individual member countries. So it's not the council, it is by individual countries. Now, we received a total of 137 recommendations, and we accepted 98 recommendations, of which 12 of those recommendations we had already been carrying out. So, for example, somebody stood up and said, and let me point out to you, when will we bring in laws regarding the criminalization of violence against women? Sierra Leone. They did not know we already had a domestic violence decree in place. There are other countries that raised issues pertaining to CEDAW. They weren't even informed that we actually had ratified CEDAW. So this is why we said they had accepted 12 of the recommendations and already complied with it. What it also tells us, Madam Speaker, is these recommendations do not necessarily have the correct factual footing. And the way it works, Madam Speaker, is that government goes and presents its report. We also had, prior to government going there, a number of NGOs from Fiji, funded by external parties, also go and lobby. Sometimes it's quite obvious they don't necessarily tell them the truth. So your country is actually sitting up, not knowing all the facts, asking questions. That turned into recommendations. Now, the recommendations specifically that were mentioned by the Honourable Member talks about the establishment of the Constitution Commission. The Fijian Constitution is quite clear, Madam Speaker. The Fijian Constitution says that the way to review the Constitution is by way of a referendum. That if this Honourable House has 3/4 support to amend the Constitution, then it can amend the Constitution subject to 3/4 of the voters that are registered, they can amend the Constitution. That's simply the case. So this is an individual recommendation made by the country of Estonia. Maybe from the article, you probably don't know where Fiji is concentrated. Making comments about the Constitution Commission in Fiji. Similarly, we have Namibia that talks about ensuring the commission again to reflect the will and aspirations. Let me say quite categorically, Madam Speaker, is that there is no commission in place, and there won't be a commission in place because the Constitution has various other mechanisms for the review of the Constitution. And secondly, there were widespread consultations on the Constitution. The third point regarding that has been raised by the third. Can I finish, or do you raise supplementary point?
Order. Would you continue, please?
Can I continue? Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the third recommendation, which was 101.31, which says amending the legislative constitutional framework to maintain the separation of power. the Constitution cannot be any more clearer than the separation of powers. In fact, Madam Speaker, this is for the first time in any Fijian constitution that says the judiciary must be completely separate, in fact, for the funding too. No other constitution has said that. We have the Judicial Services Commission. Let me put it into perspective, Madam Speaker. In Australia and New Zealand, in the appointment of judges, they do not have a Judicial Services Commission. The Attorney General makes a recommendation and whoever is recommended is appointed by the governor. That's how it works in Australia and New Zealand. In Fiji, we have a Judicial Services Commission. It consists of 5 people. They make various recommendations. They do not get the approval of the Attorney General. They consult the Attorney General. That is how judges are appointed in Fiji, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
The recommendation states expressly the following recommendations will be examined by Fiji, which will provide responses in due time, but no later than 28th session of the Human Rights Council in March of 2015. So can the Minister please explain what steps are being made in relation to these recommendations? Because obviously, these countries know what happened when they built the direct constitution and they bring on this one without consulting anyone. So can you please answer this?
Can I ask the Minister to?
I'll answer the question regarding what steps are taken, Madam Speaker. The number of steps that are being taken regarding some of the recommendations where we can progress it. Now, the point about the Gaia Commission that has been raised, there has been a lot of talk about the Gaia Commission having 7,000 submissions. We had consultations throughout Fiji, about 19 different locations we went to, with over 1,000 submissions. The point is that if you look at the Fijian Constitution as it stands, it has a number of provisions that were also recommended by the Gaia Commission, including the fact that everybody should be called a Fijian. Read the preamble of the Gaia Commission draft. It says that we are Fijians. So many of the provisions in the Constitution, or the draft Constitution of the Gaia Commission, including socio-economic rights, have been included. Now, regarding our reporting to that, we will obviously report to that and we will point out these recommendations that do not necessarily fall in line. In the same way, for example, we will go back and tell them, we actually have laws regarding domestic violence. We actually have ratified CEDAW. This is simply the line that we will take. And I also want to add, the Honourable Member, when they talked about 101.31, it talks about governing the qualification discipline of lawyers and judges both. Lawyers are quasi-judicial officers. This is the only government that set up the Independent Legal Services Commission. So when lawyers, for example, don't return the fees of their clients, if lawyers, for example, carry out professional misconduct, they also get disciplined through an independent body. Similarly, this is for the first time under this Constitution that should there be a tribunal be set up in terms of any professional misconduct by a judge, the report of the tribunal must be made public. And the Constitution also says that the recommendation of the tribunal must be adhered to. It cannot be dealt with in a political manner. So this is the first time this Constitution guarantees a very independent process for that particular process.
Thank you. I will close further discussions of that question. We will now move on to the next question by the Honourable Madam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Minister for Foreign Affairs take up his house and raise the move in progress the new section of textile law for the proposed or pending proposed by Commission?
Thank you, Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Member for the question. The land, I think the question is not totally correct, Madam Speaker. It's not section of First and Gun. It's, if you go to the museum, Honourable Madam Speaker, it's the land on the left. As you went to go to the museum. First and Gun is on the right. This land is on the left. I think the Honourable Member would remember when he was small, he used to go and
Once the dead ball, so that's right, Mr. Speaker. It's been given to the Indian government for the gentry and also for their residents. In exchange, we are getting a prime land in Chinnapura, in Delhi. The land here is it's about 1.6 acres. The land here, and it's about 1.5 billion Fiji dollars. In Delhi, it's 107 billion Fiji dollars, the latest valuation, and it's about 0.93 acres. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can the Minister please explain what zoning is that location is and whether there will need to be a rezone of that area before that proceeds?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do not have the zoning, but it will be rezoned for it to allow for office and residents of the Indian Opposition. Yeah, the British, so the British residents just allowed that piece of land.
Thank you. Honourable Member.
Supplementary question, Madam Speaker. Given the historical significance of the land, was there any public consultation? No consultation with the Swabo people who were the original owners of that land?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The land belonged to the state, and so the state felt it was a very good deal for us to get that piece of land in Delhi. As you know, the valuation in Delhi is 107 million Fiji dollars. This piece of land is only 1.5 billion Fiji dollars.
Thank you. Yes, Honourable
Supplementary, Madam Speaker. Just following up the previous supplementary, was consideration given to the people of Swabo for them to be heard in terms of actions taken by government?
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
I think Honourable Member Speaker, I think I've answered the question. The land belonged to the state, and the Fiji government felt and believed it was a very good deal because we will have a permanent presence in Delhi, and that we needed to have a piece of land to build our residents and our children. And it's on this area.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll wrap up that question. We'll go on to the next question from Honourable Salvatore.
Madam Speaker, I rise to ask the question to the Minister for Infrastructure. If the Honourable Minister can please let the House know as to what action is being planned to eliminate extension of the Kidwell sewage. Thank you,
Minister for Infrastructure.
Madam Speaker, I think the honourable member for the question, and I'll try and make some attempt to add fragrance to this question, which has all of it. Madam Speaker, the Kinoa sewage treatment has been under capacity for a long time from when it was built. Obviously, the population in the Suwano-Sori corridor has increased significantly over the years since when it was constructed. And this has put a lot of pressure on the system. Also, one of the contributing reasons why at the end the treatment plant is projecting so much odor is the long distance within the wastewater refrigeration system. So when it gets flushed down, it comes all the way to Kinoa. There is a lot of activity, so it builds up all of this odor along the way, and then when it reaches Kinoa, obviously, we experience what we are experiencing today. And one other significant factor also that has contributed to it is the extent in which the trade wastes have been discharged by various places that use the SEW system to remove their waste from their own trade offices. What we are doing about it is that you would have noticed from the announcement of the budget for 2015, Madam Chair, that there is a significant contribution by government in the area of water development, and particularly a significant aspect of this is going to go into wastewater management. We know that in the past the concentration has always been on giving water to the people to drink, but we have recognized that this area, wastewater management, has been a very, very neglected area of our nation. So we are pouring a significant amount of resources to be able to help with wastewater management. We have stakeholders that are helping us also to manage this, particularly the ADB, who have come to our aid in the last few months to help us with a plan on how we were going to handle this particular strain that we have on the wastewater treatment, particularly in Kima. We have a master plan, obviously, Madam Speaker, in order to handle this, and it is relatively to help the requirement at Kinoa to cater for 500,000 equivalent persons in 2033. So we are going long term on this, Madam Speaker. We have also submitted a tender, has already been called, and this is for the sequence batch reactor. Obviously, I mean, in layman's terms, the SDR, or the sequence batch reactor, is a big it's a big tank where they process sewer as it comes through. So the SDR, which the work that we bring on it, will allow for the trickling of oxygen through the system, so that it helps with to reduce the stench that is coming around that goes into the air as a consequence of that process. We have also established a septic sludge management facility, and we will something that we are pushing for in 2015. Essentially, as you know, 70% of homes in the Suwano-Sorry corridor actually had septic tanks. So all the waste is taken to Tirana. And we are now tendering out the work on the septic sludge management facility. And in that case, all the wastewater that comes from the septic tanks with all of the, I suppose, the alien substances that are in it, will be able to be treated separately without it going into the SDR. We also have put out a tender for the construction of a clarifier and the refurbishment of the 2 treatment filters, which are already underway. And when we have the SDR up and running, we will be able to cater for at least 130,000 equivalent persons capacity for the sewage system in Kinoa. But in the short term, Madam Speaker, we have called a tender, which is going to be awarded in a few weeks or so. Essentially, this is a short-term solution to call for interest, whereby we have already identified certain enzymes and chemicals which companies could provide in order to reduce the steps now and the order coming out of that. Now, this whole process is going to take up to 6 months to do, and hopefully within that time there should be a significant reduction in the odor. temporarily that's coming out of Kinoy at the moment. So, Madam Speaker, I stand with question that I did.
Thank you very much. It's very extensive.
Speaker, a supplementary question. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for that explanation, in which if I hear you correctly, you said it's a temporary arrangement. But if you hear my question properly, I have asked, when will the stench be eliminated? So I hope that work will be seriously pursued to ensure the elimination of the stench, because that area is a very densely populated area. And I also wonder, because this has, I believe, health effects on the people around the area that live around the area. So I wonder what kind of strategies that you might or you will have in place in terms of research and survey, in terms of impact of this on the people's health. And also because we know that the government has given some kind of compensation to retired workers, if also you will be looking at some kind of compensation to the residents that have long suffered this stench from the sewage. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I think you will remember for a supplementary question. Obviously, Madam Speaker, the Kinoy sewage treatment plant has been there from the previous governments. This government, I believe, is the only government that has ever taken an initiative to try and fix it. And I think also, Madam Speaker, I think the Ministry of Health is campaigning very, very strongly in many cities. I think to reduce the stench, maybe perhaps, Madam Speaker, we could all do with having a little bit of vegetarian everything.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will go on to the last question by the Honourable Tupac.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Minister explain the conditions under which our soldiers were released in Golan Heights?
The Honourable Minister for Defence.
The question that was given to us read, can the Minister explain the conditions under which the US $20 million was paid for the release of 45 soldiers in Golan Heights? It seems to have changed.
Madam Speaker, you and I sought that this question during our meeting. That's why the question has been rephrased.
Thank you. There's been an amendment to that question. We will now get back to the question that has been tabled this morning, and that is the question of the release of the 45 soldiers from the Golan Heights. Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I just want to raise a point of order.
Point of order.
This question was never made known to outside, obviously, to the Honourable Minister. Our discussions yesterday, Madam Speaker, was about the very question. And the Attorney General had raised to the Honourable Whip for the opposition on the fact that he had to qualify this amount that he had raised in this question. I don't think that we were ever given any we were not given any. It was definitely, there was an issue on the withdrawal of a particular question. And there was going to be a question made, and Madam Speaker, you know, understand this, that we are going to submit a new question, but not an amendment to a question that should have just been asked. And that's what the Honourable Minister is going to reply to, but not a new question.
Do you want me to rephrase the question? Okay, you will. Can Minister for Defence explain the conditions under which our soldiers, 20 million was paid for the release of our soldiers in Golanese. Is that what you want?
On that question, I recommend a mirror. Because under Standing Orders 44.5, as we raised in the business committee meeting, it says, if a statement is included in the question, the member asking the question is responsible for the accuracy of the statement. The honourable member needs to say where he got the $20 million figure from. So this is why, Madam Speaker, on that point of what I'd like to add, that we had raised this in the business committee meeting, Madam Speaker, as you're aware,